NextGen News, from sanctions to negotiations, understanding the US-Iran relationship, a relationship defined by distrust. For more than 4 decades, few international relationships have been as complicated, unpredictable, and strategically significant as that between the United States and Iran. Their rivalry has shaped conflicts across the Middle East, influenced global energy markets, affected international diplomacy, and repeatedly brought the region to the edge of military confrontation. Yet, despite years of sanctions, diplomatic isolation, covert operations, and military threats, the two countries have never fought a full-scale conventional war directly against one another. Instead, their confrontation has evolved into a long-term geopolitical competition fought through economic pressure, proxy conflicts, cyber operations, intelligence activities, and carefully calculated military deterrence.
To understand today's tensions, we must first understand how this relationship began. For decades before the 1979 Iranian Revolution, Iran was one of America's closest allies in the Middle East. Under Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the United States invested heavily in Iran's military, economy, and security institutions. Washington viewed Iran as a vital partner against Soviet influence during the Cold War and an anchor of stability in one of the world's most strategically important regions.
But everything changed in 1979. The Iranian Revolution overthrew the Shah and established the Islamic Republic under Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. The new government rejected American influence and accused Washington of decades of political interference. Later that same year, Iranian students seized the U.S. embassy in Tehran, taking American diplomats hostage for 444 days. The hostage crisis fundamentally transformed relations between the two countries. Diplomatic ties were severed. Sanctions were imposed. Mutual distrust became institutionalized. From that point forward, nearly every regional crisis would deepen the hostility. Throughout the following decades, disagreements expanded beyond politics.
The two governments clashed over terrorism, regional influence, Israel, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, and eventually Iran's nuclear program. Each side accused the other of threatening regional stability. Each side viewed its own actions as defensive.
This cycle of accusation and retaliation gradually created one of the world's longest-running geopolitical confrontations, the era of sanctions and maximum pressure.
Economic sanctions have become one of Washington's most powerful tools in dealing with Iran.
Successive American administrations imposed restrictions targeting banking, oil exports, shipping, technology, and financial transactions. The objective was clear: increase economic pressure until Tehran altered its strategic behavior. Supporters argued that sanctions offered an alternative to military intervention. Rather than launching another costly Middle Eastern war, economic measures could reduce Iran's financial resources while encouraging diplomatic negotiations.
Critics, however, questioned whether sanctions alone could achieve lasting political change. Many argued that they placed enormous burdens on ordinary Iranian citizens while strengthening nationalist narratives inside the country. Inflation increased. Foreign investment declined. Oil revenues became increasingly restricted. Yet, Iran adapted.
The government developed alternative trade networks, expanded domestic industries, strengthened regional partnerships, and sought closer economic cooperation with countries outside the Western sanctions system. Despite economic hardship, Tehran continued investing heavily in ballistic missile technology, drone production, regional alliances, and asymmetric military capabilities. Then came one of the most significant diplomatic breakthroughs. In 2015, Iran and 6 world powers signed the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, commonly known as the JCPOA. Under the agreement, Iran accepted strict limits on uranium enrichment, allowed extensive international inspections, and reduced key aspects of its nuclear program. In return, many international sanctions were lifted. Supporters praised the agreement as an opportunity to reduce nuclear risks without military confrontation.
Sanctions returned with even greater intensity. Iran gradually reduced compliance with parts of the nuclear agreement. The diplomatic environment deteriorated rapidly. Military incidents became increasingly frequent across the Persian Gulf. Oil tankers were attacked. Drones were intercepted. Regional tensions intensified.
Military incidents became increasingly frequent across the Persian Gulf. Oil tankers were attacked. Drones were intercepted. Regional tensions intensified.
Despite repeated periods of confrontation, diplomacy has never completely disappeared. Even during moments of severe tension, Indirect negotiations have continued through mediators such as Oman, Qatar, and European governments.
Despite repeated periods of confrontation, diplomacy has never completely disappeared.
Keeping communication alive, both Washington and Tehran understand a fundamental strategic reality. Neither side can easily achieve all of its objectives through military force alone.
These negotiations rarely produce dramatic breakthroughs overnight. Instead, they focus on reducing immediate risks, preventing escalation, managing misunderstandings. Communication alive, both Washington and Tehran understand a fundamental strategic reality. Either side can easily achieve all of its objectives through military force alone.
This creates a complex balance. America can project enormous military power. Iran can impose significant regional costs. Neither side seeks unlimited war, yet neither wants to appear weak.
Iran, meanwhile, has developed a strategy based on deterrence through missiles, drones, regional partners, cyber capabilities, and geographical advantages around the Persian Gulf. The Strait of Hormuz remains one of the world's most important strategic waterways. Nearly 1/5 of globally traded oil passes through this narrow passage. Even limited disruptions can increase shipping costs, raise fuel prices, and create uncertainty throughout the global economy. Regional governments closely monitor every development. Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Israel, Iraq, Qatar, Oman, Turkey, and many others understand that future US-Iran relations will directly influence their own national security.
The rivalry between Washington and Tehran is therefore no longer only bilateral. The future of US-Iran relations remains uncertain. Several possible paths remain open. The first is continued confrontation without direct war. Sanctions would remain.
The future of US-Iran relations remains uncertain. Several possible paths remain open. The first is continued confrontation without direct war. Sanctions would remain.
A second possibility involves gradual diplomatic progress.
Limited agreements on nuclear monitoring, maritime security, humanitarian cooperation, or prisoner exchanges could slowly rebuild confidence. Such progress would not eliminate decades of mistrust.
Or an incident involving regional proxy forces could trigger retaliation that neither government originally intended. The challenge facing both governments is therefore larger than simply protecting national interests. It is preventing strategic competition from becoming uncontrolled conflict.
The challenge facing both governments is therefore larger than simply protecting national interests. It is preventing strategic competition from becoming uncontrolled conflict.
Yet sustainable peace ultimately depends upon diplomacy, communication, verification, and political compromise.
History demonstrates that sanctions can apply pressure. Military deterrence can prevent immediate attacks. Yet sustainable peace ultimately depends upon diplomacy, communication, verification, and political compromise. The relationship between Washington and Tehran will likely continue to experience periods of tension, negotiation, disagreement, and cautious engagement. Neither country is expected to become a close ally anytime soon, but avoiding another major conflict may be the shared interest that gradually encourages more practical cooperation. For the wider international community, the stakes remain enormous. Regional stability affects global energy prices, international trade, financial markets, and the security of millions of people across the Middle East. Ultimately, the future of US-Iran relations will not be determined by military capabilities alone. It will depend upon leadership, strategic patience, political courage, and the willingness to recognize that diplomacy is often far more difficult but far less costly than war. This is NextGen News. Thank you for watching.